Second game of the Rugby Championship 2019 has seen a very close game between the Pumas and the All Blacks. All Blacks able to hold on to this one 20 points to 16. Only 3 tries in the game. Very, very tight. It went right down to the death, this one. The Pumas had an attacking play right at the end, but unable to get that first win over the All Blacks. So the All Blacks retained that record, and yeah, it was a very, very tense finish. In terms of the game itself, it started with some penalties being accumulated by the Pumas. Sanchez got one on about the second minute after Jordy Barrett being penalised for tackling Boffelli in the air. So it was 3-0. Boffelli got a long distance penalty, and that one was against Fafita for not rolling away at a tackle. Good kick from Boffelli, so 6-0. And then the Argentinians actually went pretty close through Matera on about 12 minutes, but the All Blacks defence was able to hold. But momentum definitely at that start of the game was all with Argentina. However, to kind of go against that flow, Laumapi got the first try of the game on 18 minutes. Aaron Smith had taken a quick tap, and after they had advantage, and Laumapi was able to go over. So that put the All Blacks in front. I think it was after about 8 phases, so the All Blacks had a bit of lead-up play. The Argentinian defence did hold for a while, but eventually Laumapi got through. It was 8 phases in the play before the quick tap. So it was 7 points to 6. All Blacks take the lead, but then Sanchez, a few minutes later, gets a penalty. All Blacks offside. Argentina back in the lead, 9 points to 7. And then Jordy Barrett kicks a penalty on 22 minutes. All Blacks back in the lead, 10 points to 9. So, yeah, All Blacks spent a lot of time in the Argentinian half, in the kind of second half of that first half. But at times their execution was pretty lacking. Sometimes offloading to nobody. Some of the kicking not the best. Eventually, because the All Blacks execution is not there in terms of being able to score tries, they take a penalty. I think it was a scrum penalty. Kremer put his hand in there. So yeah, they eventually took the penalty. It's like, take the points because we're not able to build up for a try. It's 13 points to 9. And then just before half time, as the Argentinians are starting to build an attacking move, Retallick intercepts a Sanchez pass and runs like 30-40 meters for a try. Might have even been longer. And it is 20 points to 9 at half time. So the All Blacks are looking pretty comfortable at that point, but they didn't score any points in the second half, and often that's a killer. Like if you watch games and you see a team that doesn't score for a whole 40, often that team goes on to lose. So it was interesting the All Blacks managed to hold this one out, but it was 20 points to 9 at half time. Second half, Bowden misjudges a kick at first, and it kind of rolls into touch. So the Argentinians get a bit of an attack, but then from the line out, the All Blacks win a penalty. Then 46 or 47 minutes, Argentina get their first and only try of the game. Under advantage, Sanchez kicks a high ball. Boffelli somehow manages to pinch it from Ben Smith. I mean, he is pretty good in the air. He's one of my favourite players. Is Boffelli, strong, quick, good in the air. Does a very good job there. They convert the try. It's 16 points to 20. And it was kind of a much-needed try in terms of getting the game underway for the Argentinians, because if the All Blacks had scored next and made it, 27-9, it might have been dead and buried. But at 16 points to 20, after 47 minutes, that's the finish of the scoring. That's your final score there. But there's still a lot of game to play out. Jordy Barrett, his name's written on my paper too many times, and not for good things. He was prone to a few errors today, like he stepped out of his 22 and then kicked it out on the full. I had been looking at his feet a couple of times before that and thinking, he's pulling it really close to that line. He eventually got pinged for it. Sanchez missed the penalty in the kind of following plays from that Jordy Barrett error. And that might be key, because if Sanchez kicks that penalty and brings it within a point, it means later on in the game, all Argentina need to do is kick a penalty to win it. But he misses that one, and it's a penalty he probably should have been kicking. Coles gets penalised later on. No, that was actually earlier. He got penalised for changing his line. Argentina build through phases. Kramer knocks the ball on. There's a few too many mistakes from both sides, actually. I put a note. Both teams handling errors. I think it was 25 plus handling errors between both sides. So it was a bit scrappy. 67 minutes. De La Fuente gets an on-the-field try from Mojano kind of going down the wing. But when the TMO looks at it, Mojano's foot is in touch before he gets his pass away. They would have then had to look if it had come off De La Fuente's legs or his hands, or if it had come off an All Blacks player before he went and forced it, but it didn't matter anyway. But it was an on-the-field try, so it would have been Argentina in front at 67 minutes, but TMO correctly ruled that as no. Argentina still, build some phases. Orlando knocks the ball on. This is what I'm talking about, the handling errors. It was kind of killer for both sides. At the end, the Argentinians have a line out. They get advantage. Can't do anything. They get another line out, and they go to a maul. The All Blacks are able to hold that up, and eventually the maul goes down, and it would have been a turnover, but because would have been a scrum being set, it is the end of the game. So that was the end, 4-point victory. So the Argentinians do get a bonus point, but I think they'll be pretty disappointed they couldn't go one better, because they had chances in this game to get it done. As I said, if Sanchez doesn't miss that penalty, or if Sanchez doesn't throw that intercept pass to Retallick, then Argentina maybe goes on to win this one. So it's a couple of errors. As I said, it wasn't just Sanchez making errors. There were loads of guys. I don't think Fafita really impressed for the All Blacks in the game when he probably needed to. Jordy Barrett, some of you guys mentioned in the comments that he is lacking a bit of reliability. He proved that in this game as well. So, there's definitely a bit to work on for both sides. In terms of your stats, run meters 301 to 504, so the All Blacks with more of those. But Argentina 58% possession, 59% territory. But in the first half, it was the All Blacks with 60-40 possession and 75-35 territory. So second half was really when the Argentinians put the pressure on. You can tell by the fact that the All Blacks didn't score. But a key point defensively, All Blacks tackled at 91%, so really enough to hold the Argentinians out. The Argentinians, I don't know if these stats are true. I'd have to question and maybe look later, because sometimes they do update after the game, but 52% tackling percentage. That's really bad. So Josh Ioane didn't get a chance to come on, I guess because it's a 4-point game. Steve Hansen didn't want to give him his debut on a game like this, because imagine if he comes on and makes a mistake. The public would never forgive him, so he'll have to wait another week, or I guess with Mo'unga coming back, I guess we'll see if he gets a game at all. Individuals, run meters, Moroni with 64, Bowden Barrett, Ben Smith, Brody Retallick, and Nani Lamapi all had around 70-something, so kind of top guys. De La Fuente made a lot of tackles. I think Retallick made quite a few as well. So, interesting game. Very tense at the end. My heart rate was certainly up watching the Argentinians trying to bust the All Blacks down. As I said, it wasn't quite close enough. They interviewed Pablo Matera after the game, did the New Zealand media team, and he seemed pretty disappointed, but basically said that they didn't quite do enough. They did have their chances, so close game. All Blacks get the win. That'll put the Springboks on top of the Rugby Championship, because they got a bonus point win over the Wallabies. All Blacks will be second, Argentina third with that bonus point loss, and the Wallabies will be at the bottom. So next week is going to be very interesting. See how these teams manage the travel. Steve Hansen mentioned in his post-match press conference that I think Air New Zealand, who they'll fly, moved their flight time to accommodate the All Blacks. So they pretty much get out of Argentina tomorrow, back to New Zealand for Monday. So they said if the flight hadn't been adjusted, there would have been a lot worse. So yeah, we'll see how things go. You guys let me know your thoughts on the games. How did you think they went? If you're in my Super Brew pool, how did you go with your Super Brew picks? I will do a quick video on that for Patreon to see how my picks went and why I picked the ones I did. But yeah, it was an interesting game. As I said, pretty tense at the end. I'm not that fussed that it had errors. It is that kind of opening game feeling about it. The fact that it was 4 points in it, Argentina could have potentially won at the end. Heart rate up. That's kind of what I want when I'm watching my games. I want that tension. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.